one other. Okay. So just to recap, we are getting started with our information for transformation tonight, and we are talking about the brain and a lot of different things about ways you can help the brain. We're gonna do this in two parts. I will be talking a little bit about foods and herbs, and Robert will be talking about methylene blue and some other important factors. But there's definitely a lot to understanding about the brain, and we're probably barely gonna scratch the surface of it. But there's some definite takeaways that you'll have tonight. So we will hopefully be live every Monday night at 6 Eastern time for now, and post these on YouTube and finish. So Two Bros Healing, and it should get you in there. All right, are we ready? Should we? I'm going to share my screen and let's look at. I want to do this one first. All right, I think I got here. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen. Healthy fats.
There we go.
Got it. All right.
Tonight's topic
Yeah.
is,
So tonight's topic is fats. All about the brain and nerves. We're going to look at what you can do to help improve brain function, help remove obstacles, how to supercharge our brain. Our brains are a large part of our body. It is a big fatty organ that we forget about. It should be it's very wet and very hydrated. And there's many things that we are now exposed to that we haven't been in the past. And we have a lot more on our plates. So it's a lot different than just staying hydrated. So tonight we'll go into as much as we can with the brain, and then hopefully talk a little bit about natural law, about um, some different factors within what you can do to maintain your who you really are in the scope of all things, not who we're being forced into. So a little bit about where I'm going to go with the brain and different ways of supporting it is to just understand that it's many things. It's, we always focus on our brain, but then there's the mind, and then there's the higher mind, and there's the different computing parts, as well as the inner intuitive parts of our brain that we all kind of lump into one mold, so to speak. So I want to just make it real easy tonight on different things and how, substances we can different things we can use to enhance our brain. And since diet and food and nutrition is something that we do multiple times a day, I wanted to start with many things that we can do. So on my first screen tonight that I want to share with you is healthy fats and brains, because the brain and the nervous system is highly refined, structured fats. And I know our society has been fat phobic because everybody's on diets and they want to lose fat, and they've demonized fat. I find that most things that are demonized, it's like we should really look at that a little bit closer when there's such a knee-jerk reaction against something or for something.
there's
So
fats that heal and fats that kill.
absolutely. And there's a great book from Sally Fallon and Mary Enig, I believe, by that title. Very, very good. And it's also a really good book years ago by Udo Erasmus on fats and oils. But basically, we need to understand that there are healthy fats, and there's different chemical structures of fats that make up structure in our body, and that there are good fats. And I think recently, with a lot of the diets that we're moving into, keto, paleo, carnivore, it has enlightened people to a lot of different parts of the food. Myself, I'm not a proponent of any specific diet per se. I follow the adage of eating under your own fig tree in season where you live. And I really like the Weston A. Price Foundation guidelines.
That's
uh,
traditional diet.
Traditional diet. And actually, let me let's see if I can. I'm going to share. Let me get back over there. I'm going to get a new share. If I can call that up. I think I had there. Oh, no, it's not gonna let me do it. I'm sorry. I thought I had the Weston A. Price. But anyway, we can go there another time. We'll show you on there, or you can write that down, Weston A. Price Foundation. Basically, Weston was a dentist, Weston Price, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, but he was more than a dentist. He was a real
Researcher.
seeker, researcher, and him and his
Historian.
wife used to in the summers go to is close to an indigenous people. They go study indigenous groups of people all around the world. Fascinating study of work, and found that the diet of white man colonization of white man was um, pushing refined foods, pushing refined flour, refined sugar. That when they preserve foods, they took out all of the beneficial oils and introduced this to native populations and poisoned them and made their offspring horrible. And from that, we had crowded teeth, malformations. If the teeth are crowded and pushed together, then people have to be mouth breathers instead of breathing through your nose. The teeth get crowded and they have to pull out, a lot of the canines or other teeth to make room for it. That's all abnormal.
Premolars.
So anyway, he found also that there was mental aberrations along with these problems as well, not just structural or physical formations. So it is a fascinating book. One podcast we'll probably have to go through just his stuff and his work, but his book, forget the name of it. It's one of my favorite books, Traditional Diets. Oh, Bobby might find it. Um, I don't want to butcher
Nutritional,
it.
I
Yeah, no,
forget.
I look
Yeah.
at reference it all the time. But anyway, it's like his classic book. There's great pictures in there of different indigenous people, and you can see their full arch in their mouth, beautiful smiles, big full dental arch. And then there's pictures of people that have the narrowing and the crooked face and the third of the face and here
Router teeth.
is crowded, and you can see that they can't breathe very well. And this is like our modern society.
So
Anyway.
these white flour and sugar that the white traders brought to these tribes created birth defects in the children when the mother went from traditional diet to the white man's white foods. And in the middle third of the face, there was a birth defect where, like Kerrie described, they didn't have the full dental arch, they didn't have all 32 teeth, created the impacted wisdom teeth and all the other problems of crowding. And they had a narrow pelvis. So when they grew up, they had difficult childbirth. And then when mom changed her diet and went back to the indigenous diet, had more children, they didn't have that birth defect like she did when she was eating that food
Mhm.
uh, while she was pregnant.
So he did a lot of research in nutrition and in following his patients and following them and changing habits and patterns and behavioral problems. And one of the things that he found was that our diets really, really lack certain fats and fat soluble nutrients. And that's what is so important because when we start processing the fats out of things, we lose vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin K, vitamin E and F, those are all fat soluble vitamins. And there's a real misnomer about vitamin A that it is, I mean, people think vitamin A is beta carotene. Beta carotene comes from a plant source, and the body has to convert it, but it doesn't convert it very well into usable vitamin A. Very, very difficult. So it's
It
very,
takes 8 beta carotenes to make one retinol
which is real
molecule.
vitamin A, retinol. And the liver has a hard time doing it. It's not an easy conversion. So people that are following a vegan or vegetarian diet are often very, very deficient in vitamin A. So vitamin A is necessary for so many things. Copper absorption is one, and we'll get to that next week. I just wanted to throw that out there. But it's very difficult to get in the diet. So that is really high in the list. And I'd urge you to go to Weston A. Price Foundation website and read about that. They have a ton of useful, really, really good information. But cod liver oil is right what it's from. Years ago, kids used to get, in the wintertime, they'd get lined up and get cod liver oil. Real vitamin A is one of the things that not only helps the liver, but it nourishes the whole mucous membranes, all of the lining of your nose and throat and mouth. So what happens in the winter? We have dry air, we we get cold, our bodies have to make more heat to create the immune system. So naturally the epithelial lining, the whole mucous membrane, nose, throat would get deficient, raw, on the deficient side. So it was normal to want to give kids cod liver oil so that they didn't get colds, runny nose, sore throats, coughs, that whole cycle when you have weak mucous membranes. So cod liver oil, very, very important. High vitamin A, high real vitamin D. The synthetic form of vitamin D, I'm not a fan. So also fish high in it should be DHA. I have DHS. It should be high in DHA, and it's DHA. I would think it's like stored sunlight energy. There is sources of omega-3s that contain DHA and EPA, plant sources, but again, the body has to do more converting. So anyway, cold water fish are high sources of omega-3s, which contain the DHA, EPA. Um, Very, very good for creating brain tissue, brain cells. Fish roe, fish eggs, another one. Eggs that are the right way. The chicken needs to be outside in the sunshine. They need to be eating grass and they need to be pecking for bugs in the soil. If they are sometimes, I mean, if they're in a cage on top of another cage being bathed with lighting, artificial lighting all day, that is not going to produce a healthy egg. And you can see why a lot of people might have a problem with that. So if the chicken is allowed to run around in just dirt, that's not the greatest either. At least they're outside. But if they get in actual pasture, where there's grass and bugs, that's wonderful, and sunshine, then you're going to get a very, very healthy product. And eggs are very high in several things, not only vitamin A, a lot of the B vitamins, and choline, which is another neurotransmitter precursor that the body needs.
So
Also,
these
ghee.
fats are so important to the brain, especially cholesterol. Your brain is 75% cholesterol. So when people are on cholesterol reducing diets and statin drugs
Statins.
and things, they within about 6 weeks start to develop neurological symptoms because they don't have enough cholesterol.
Yeah.
So that's a
So
big
this
problem.
totally. And this goes for eye problems, macular degeneration, um, the retina. The eyes are part of the brain and really need the right nutrients. So night vision problems also need for real vitamin A. So what was I going with? Also coconut oil, not as high, but it's a good essential, I mean, a good oil to put in, but ghee, butter, especially butter that's if the cows graze on green grass, if they get that green pastured grass, they can make a lot of good nutrients from that. And then again, as Bobby mentioned, animal fats and cholesterol are the foundation for making brain tissue.
And this
What's
is what the medics try to scare you away from the saturated fat, which you need. And they push the oxidized seed oils on you, which create reactive oxygen species and all kinds of degradation in the body.
And it's how we handle these fats. Fats are delicate. They should not be highly heated. We should rarely ever fry anything. And if you fry something, it should be with an oil that can withstand heat. So they're delicate, and especially oils that are for your brain and that are break down, you don't want to heat them highly. It's like if you heat butter too much, it burns. You can smell that. It's like, ugh. So it's very important to treat oils gently and to have them the right way in food. And eggs, I wanted to mention, that's right. I have my little notes here, but eggs are one thing that's really important. Eggs are wonderful, but it's how you eat them too. When we highly heat an egg, we're going to denature a lot of the proteins in it and render that yolk part, which is so important. It's full of vitamin A and it's full of choline and it's full of B vitamins. And when it's highly cooked, it's going to make them in a
Denatured.
form that's the body is not going to use like it normally would. It's going to denature it and it's going to be hard for it to break down. Instead of giving your body what it needs, it's going to be now it's going to have to process it. So if you have your eggs either poached, over easy, soft boiled, or if you do hard boil them, you can do it where the yolk is way more tender, not real hard, but you're still going to have the white more hard. Doesn't mean that you can't ever have an omelet or a hard boiled egg or a deviled egg, but your choice of eggs, especially if you are trying to rebuild your brain, if you're trying to rebuild your nerves, or your memory, you want to eat the eggs where the yolk is more intact and less cooked.
And
Very,
then
very.
ideally, raw eggs would be the choice, like in a blender drink or something, where you don't have the denatured protein, the albumin, the white gets thick and rubbery. That's denatured. It's tangled protein, and your body can't break it down very well. So the way nature provided it is the best way.
Right. And then there's a difference. I just want to mention, I have a few things written here. The arachidonic acid, that is the omega-6. And we usually get too much omega-6 to omega-3 ratio in the diet anyway. If you're getting way too much seed oils, it's going to rack that up, and that those can get inflammatory, which is counterproductive. But they're naturally occurring in a lot of fats. But when we have certain types that are, again, the seed oils, which I think people are finally starting to understand and get away from, then we don't have that problem. All right, we talked about cholesterol, saturated fats, healthy saturated fats found in grass-fed meat, butter, coconut oil, and it's when we highly heat these or cook them too high is when we create problems with saturated fats. If they're fried or if they're you cook a burger at 450 degrees or something, that's going to make those saturated fats harder to digest and more tangled and harder in the body. Omega 3s, really delicate. The fish oils, they are very delicate. And I wanted to mention some of the extracts of cod liver oil. And when you go to Weston Price's site, they've done a lot of research on there. But basically, the two methods that are really that are out there for getting the fish oil out of the fish, one of them is a molecular distillation, and not my favorite. I'm still kind of like so-so about parts of it, although they do it in a vacuum, which lowers the temperature, but then we're still messing with high temperatures with oils. That's why I'm not totally a fan of that method. And there's only a few companies that use the natural method of extracting the fish oil in the right way, which is a fermentation. So it can be done, but that way it's delicate and it gives it to you how it should be in its proper form, and then your body can use it. So a lot of times when something isn't given to you in the right form and we take it, we go, oh, this stuff doesn't work. Well, that didn't work, but doesn't mean that this all doesn't work. Okay, and then the fat soluble vitamins A, D, and K, also E and F in good fats there. All right, so talked about that one. I want to give you now another share. The fats are, I think, the biggest part because we really need that for, here it is. We really need that for creating the foundation. Sorry, here, trying to get these all the way. I don't know if I can get that without too much ado. Anyway, the fats form the foundation of the brain and the nerves. The nerves have to have sheathing, and that gets us to some of the herbs that we're coming to. But before I totally jump into that, then we have conditions like Parkinson's and different situations where the sheathing is not, the myelin sheathing. It's like having a wire, um, a cord. Just think of a cord or a plug with a crack in it.
And the
It's going to
insulation.
the insulation there. It's going to be shorting a little bit, or it's not going to run correctly. So
And that insulation is 95% cholesterol by
cholesterol.
weight. So if you don't have enough cholesterol, you're going to have that demyelination of the nerves, causing short circuiting,
Exactly.
MS symptoms, Parkinsonism, all that stuff.
Hmm. All right, so now we got the foundation in the good fats and preparing them correctly and having them every day, putting that in our diet because it's easy to put things more as food, I think, in the diet, and then we can add on to it with supplements. I'd rather do it that way. Some things you can't get without supplementing more often. So there's a few, do I have this to write? Yeah, there's a few categories I want to put this out for you. One is nutrients and herbs for the brain, but we're going to call them, the first one's neurotransmitter protectors. So what we have going on with a few of these herbs is it helps to stop the breakdown of acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is basically two molecules the body puts together to help learning, focus, and memory. I'm not going to give you too much biochemistry, but cholines are part of the B vitamin group. It's part of lecithin. It's part of the egg yolk. One of the things, acetyl groups come in other forms, but the body puts those together. And one thing that happens in memory loss, Alzheimer's, degenerative decline is that there's an enzyme that breaks that down. So it can't get the learning and the structure across, and the acetylcholine gets broken down before it can do its job. So there's a few herbs that inhibit this enzyme that breaks down our acetylcholine, which we don't want. So a few herbs like sage, like regular garden sage, it inhibits this enzyme, acetylcholinesterase. Okay, so it's going to stop that from doing that bad thing. So we can have the acetylcholine to have the nerve firing and get the signals and do what it needs to do. All right. So sage, garden sage, it directly maintains the higher activity of neurotransmitters. The acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter, and basically it's just a communication substance. It's a little phone, kind of, so your body's going to use that to tell another part something to do.
Mhm.
All right.
Cell phones.
Cell phones, a total cell phone. So sage, what can we do with sage? We can use it in many ways. You can have it as an extract. Typical dosage are 300 to 600 milligrams. But for an herb like this, you can make a simple tea. You can take a teaspoon of sage. You probably have some in your kitchen or a few fresh leaves and put it in a cup of boiling water. Any leaf or flower, you will put in the boiling water and take it off the heat and cover it and let it steep in there. It doesn't need to rolling boil because you got to coax it out gently. It's just the leaf or just the flower. When you have a bark or a root, you want to boil the little suckers for a while. You need to coax it out there. Okay, but a tea, no. All right, so you can drink this, several cups daily. Um, Before I go a little bit more with herbs, herbs are something that we need to go in and out of. It doesn't mean you're going to do this forever and ever. Amen. Herbs, your body has a tolerance to, so you need to use them for a little while and then stop and maybe use them or something similar and stop. It's a food, so it needs to be used in that manner. And also, we need to check certain herbs also have really drastic blood thinning properties.
Qualities.
Yeah, qualities. So you just want to make sure if you are on any medications, um, that you just double check to see if you're gonna, like if you're on a blood thinner and you're gonna taking more blood thinners and you didn't know it was a blood thinner and you cut yourself and you bleed a lot. So things like that. So just double check. That being said, we'll move through sage. Aromatherapy too, it works. So the inhaling of sage essential oil in a diffuser or before you're studying or something, or just to get that into the brain. Amazing property of herbs in the aromatherapy form.
Also, lemon balm and what's the one the bees like?
Big Mom.
Bee balm
Starts
or
with
I
a
see one
B.
in Earl Grey. Yeah,
Yeah,
not a
so different oils will stimulate the brain. We've seen
bergamot.
this bergamot. Yeah, thanks. Seen this make quick, profound changes in people's cognitive function, ability.
So you can use this in food. I mean, don't just use it in stuffing and Thanksgiving. It can be used in potatoes, in any kind of stir fry. It can be used in meats. It can be used in tea and soups. Um, It's good herb, nice savory kind of taste. Another one is rosemary. Rosemary is a great herb for a lot of things, and it also has this contains the 1,8-cineol, which prevents neurotransmitter breakdown, helping with speed and accuracy during mental tasks. We should all have rosemary growing. It's a great herb. So it enhances brain function and memory primarily through its rich antioxidant compounds, such as rosmarinic acid. And this is a little cool substance to know about. So it boosts a key memory neurotransmitter, here again called acetylcholine. We just talked about that. So you can use it by inhaling the oil, drinking the tea. Same thing, you're going to kind of do it similar, like a half a teaspoon in the tea. Has been known to improve cognitive processing speed in older adults. You can do it fresh or dried. You can have it again in your salad, in your meats, potatoes. You can mix it into olive oil or vinegars for like dipping in bread or salad dressing base. It's really good. Just think about it as using it like a seasoning herb. Again, you could put it in tea, put it in the boiling water, and let it steep for 15 minutes or so. Other herbs, now after we've got that enzyme dealt with so we can have the acetylcholine, now we want to maybe bring some circulation and blood flow. Okay, this is another property of using the herbs. And there's many. I just picked a few of them. And one is ginkgo biloba. It reduces the blood viscosity and improves microcirculation into the head, into the cerebral capillaries. But again, this does thin the blood on this one, so just make sure you know about that. But it's also a beautiful herb. Look how pretty that is. And then gotu kola, another one. It's an Ayurvedic herb called Brahmi to boost the physical and health, and it's also the microcirculation to the brain. So ginkgo is also a blood thinner. Mention that. So it could interact with some of those and make it could reduce effectiveness of that. So it's probably good to know. So if you're taking anything anti-anxiety, it will make it not work as well. All right, there's gotu kola. It stimulates the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factors. So neurotrophic are neurotrophs or NOOPs, I think they're called, are things that enhance brain function. So they support, again, healthy microcirculation. You need the circulation to go around the brain to enhance memory and focus. Sometimes you can use it as a tea or a tincture, depending on your needs. The tea we talked about, you want to steep it in the water. It says it's a leaf, so you're going to steep it. And tincture is usually an alcoholic extract. It could be a glycerin extract, although glycerin doesn't extract as well as alcohol. You can also extract with vinegar called an oxymel. So you could take it that way too. All right. Another thing, I think this is my last, maybe I have one more, two more things. Neurogenesis and plasticity. The neurogenesis, the brain, and genesis, renewing brain cells, and plasticity. These happen more when we're younger and less when we're older. Plasticity is the ability of the brain to change and to move and to cognize and to switch modes, adapt. We get old, we get stuck in our ways. We're not plastic anymore. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but they're using plasticity as a movement word.
You can see that people that are inflexible in their thoughts and beliefs also.
Yeah. So several of these herbs, I'm going to go through those in a minute. Let's see. Here's Bacopa moneri, pretty herb. It looks like a slightly succulent-y, kind of thick, but a five-petaled flower. Used in centuries in Ayurvedic medicine, it's very good at enhancing memory retention, improves spatial learning, your ability to imagine this or put slot A into part B and connect with parts, like those things usually get people like batty. So it helps improve that function of the brain and to take in new information about one's environment, reducing stress, and that increases the length and branching of the nerve cells, dendrites in the brain, which is linked to learning and memory. So if the nerve cells are getting enhanced, getting some juice, they're going to be better able to connect. Lion's mane is a mushroom rather than an herb, and it's used alongside other nootropics because it actively promotes brain cell regeneration and nerve growth factor. And you can buy these in kits. This is the actual mushroom itself popping out of the log that's in this kit. I've grown these and used them. Here's one growing in nature. Thus, they call it lion's mane. Doesn't work in lion's mane. Okay, so they are very good at boosting nerve growth factor. It promotes the extension of nerve cells, the axon and dendrites of the actual nerve itself. Those are the little impulses that get the signal across and get the message across. Hey, it gets the message across, basically. And then myelin repair, because the short circuiting, if you got a wire that's short circuit and then it's burned the wiring around it, that needs to be repaired, right? So it's a protective covering. We got to get that nerve re-insulated, resheathed. So this is going to help that. It has a mild flavor. It's a sweet, kind of meaty, seafood-like texture. You can saute these in a hot pan and then to drive off a little moisture and then cook it in some butter, salt and pepper, garlic. Wonderful. Another herb, this one's the extract is called Huperzine A. It's from the Huperzia serrata plant. It's more, I think it's a moss actually, but it's kind of a cool looking plant. So it also improves memory and learning from
Kind
a
of
whole.
looks like rosemary.
It does. It does. It's got that similar kind of branching it has. So it shows it improves memory and slows cognitive decline by increasing the levels of our friend acetylcholine. So if it sees it in the blood, it's going to grab onto that and bring it to the brain. So the compounds function as neurotransmitters, getting the message across. So choline, part of that, is an essential nutrient that the body uses to make cell membranes. It's actual substance that makes the fat metabolism. It's in liver health. It's a great substance that the body needs, especially neurotransmitter for memory and muscle control. Then there's part of the phosphatidylcholines and phosphatidylserines, phospholipids. These are basically just a class of fats and foods that help create the substance of the brain and the nerves. So it creates this by protecting them. We're kind of getting redundant with several things, but it's important to understand that these all do similar things to help the whole brain. The normal aging process causes the brain cells to become rigid, impairing brain cell communication, which results in memory recall issues. So phosphatidylserine can improve the memory function, especially delayed recall in older people by rejuvenating the brain cells. So if we're not getting a lot of these things in our diet, the brain is going to atrophy. It's going to wind down. Parts of it aren't going to be as active. If we can put some of these things in the diet, and Robert's going to go into some other parts that will give you some techniques, but this is where we got to start with the structure. And then there's a few other things that are adaptogens and stress shielders. I'm going to share one other thing, and then I'm going to hand it over to Bobby. I took that, the brains and the nerve. Okay, so the last little thing I wanted to say is, I guess I got it all into one. Okay, so no, I'm good. I'm good. Got that. So just to wrap up mine, am I still sharing? Am I?
No,
Okay, so, all right. Get that. All right. So the last thing is just to be able to put as much in your diet and then supporting with the different herbs in your nutritional program. All right. I think my part is done, and I will try to look at some of these questions. Yeah, ghee is definitely for cooking meat and just for putting on top of anything. You can use ghee like you would butter. Yeah, also bees like thyme. Anything that has those blossoms that those big long blossoms, they love that. Rosemary essential oil. Yes, absolutely. On your big toe. Okay, sure. All right. Are you ready, Bobby?
I'm ready. Okay,
Great.
we're going to talk about a couple other methods of dealing with tired brain, toxic brain. And I wanted to mention about the blood-brain barrier. This is something that protects the brain. It normally filters out unwanted substances that shouldn't be there. And basically, there's certain nutrients, and glucose is the primary substance that should be in the brain. So when you hold a microwave transmitter next to your head, your cell phone opens the blood-brain barrier wide open, and it stays open for an hour and a half at least after you're done with your call. So anything that's in the blood is going to go into the brain where it shouldn't be, right? And so imagine somebody that's smoking a cat cigarette. There's about 3,000 chemicals in tobacco and cigarette smoke, um, or
And
any other
nicotine.
toxic beverage or anything. While you're talking on your phone or by someone that's got a phone on them, it might not be you, it might be secondhand radiation from someone else's, or the Wi-Fi router or other wireless devices that opens that blood-brain barrier and lets all these toxins into the brain. So be mindful of that. And people have no idea. You have to remind them. Even if they know, they still, by habit, will put the phone in their pocket and they don't put it in an airplane mode and stuff. So that's um, adding fire to the fuel to the fire. And so what we're going to talk about, let me set this up for my share. Methylene blue. Everybody's familiar with that? Methylene blue is called an electron cycler, and it doses up to 3 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. It acts both as an electron donor to the mitochondria, to the electron transport chain in the mitochondria. That's your power plants in all your cells. And then an, an average cell has uh, about 1,000 mitochondria. Liver cells have 2,000 mitochondria per cell. Kidneys have 4,000 mitochondria. Heart cells have 10,000 mitochondria. A mature ovum, an egg that a woman has in her ovaries, 600,000 mitochondria. And in parts of the brain, like the substantia nigra, those neurons have 2 million mitochondria. So anything that's going to downregulate the mitochondria is going to have a huge effect on the brain and the heart, right? Because they're so rich with mitochondria. And that's what gives the electrical signal of the brain, the EEG signal, and the EKG or ECG signal of the heart is all those mitochondria. So we have a total of 40 quadrillion mitochondria in our body. It's amazing. 1 billion ATP molecules, which are produced by the mitochondria. It takes 1 billion ATP molecules to do one heartbeat. So your body makes I mean, you produce your body weight in ATP every day. So we want to help that process. It's being interfered with by many things, artificial lighting, the microwaves from all the uh, wireless devices and things are big offenders. So we want to monitor that, um, make sure we're not. Uh, we have to clean up our environment because you can't get healthy in the same environment that made you sick. So, okay, where was I? Okay. So the methylene blue, there's few compounds that cycle electrons as effectively as methylene blue. Methylene blue also increases the cytochrome C oxidase, which is the fourth cytochrome in the mitochondria in the electron transport chain that produces ATP, the energy currency the body runs on. So you need that to drive the increased glucose consumption. The latter occurs because the mitochondria are making more energy and need more substrate to supply electrons to the electron chain. And that's another reason why we need to ground ourselves to get the electrons into the body that's needed by the electron transport chain to basically turn oxygen into water. So those nerds among us, methylene blue can enhance our mitochondrial complex 4 function and NAD supply, nicotine adenine dinucleotide, which is a B vitamin. Okay, it bypasses potentially dysfunctional complexes in 1 and 2 in the mitochondria. So if we have these mitochondrial deficiencies, methylene blue kind of jumps past that and short circuits it so that it'll still work because it's an electron cycler. The methylene blue was discovered in 1870 and it was first used as an aniline-based dye for cotton. It's now known that it improves mitochondrial respiration and could be the magic bullet within a metabolic medicine approach. So soon after its introduction as an industrial dye, methylene blue is found to be an effective way to sustain human tissues and microbes for microscopic examination. It also was discovered that methylene blue could inactivate certain microbes, making it a powerful antimicrobial that leaves cells and tissues virtually unharmed, and it even gets more impressive. Also, methylene blue was used to kill malaria in people. So it's one of the first chemotherapeutic medications ever tested in humans. It was even used to treat malaria, as I mentioned. When antibiotics first came on the scene, accompanied by heavy marketing by doctors and big pharma, healthcare shifted to those new superior antimicrobials, even though methylene blue is more effective. But are antibiotics really superior? We know that antibiotics have negative effects on our health by killing our microbiome, our friendly bacteria in our digestive system and other parts of the body. An incredibly important, diverse group of bacteria that coexist mainly in the gut. So many bugs can become resistant to antibiotics, and that doesn't happen with methylene blue. So it's got a variety of applications in the body. It's amazing. And when you use it in conjunction with the light, near infrared light activates it, the wavelength of 622 nanometer wavelength is what resonates with methylene blue. So that's in red light. So you take methylene blue and you go out in the sun, or you go out under your light panel, or any other red light source that you have, and that'll activate your mitochondria and upgrade the output of ATP. So that's going to help every function in your body because every physiologic process needs mitochondria to function, especially the brain. So you can take, we just do a dropper full of it in a glass of water and drink it. And then about an hour later, you do your light therapy and for 30, 45 minutes. And it does amazing things. So I want to share some other, let me get out of here and set up. See.
I put a couple of things in the chat that about some of the herbs, what we were talking about. And
Just
copy
trying
some
to
of that.
call up here we go. No?
could also put the methylene blue in a little bit of juice, sometimes a little bit of grape juice or prune juice. Yeah,
Tastes a little better.
a little better.
Okay, there's some devices you can use for the brain. This one goes over the head. Can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay. And this, you can control the color, temperature of the lights. We just put it on infrared and we treat people that way. While we're doing 40 hertz on the sound table, um, it does wonders for the brain. There's intranasal red light therapy, photobiomodulation. And you can get these devices to go in your nose because of the rich nasal blood supply in the nose, that there's a lot more blood that could be directly exposed to the light. So you can treat the whole body through the nose by treating the blood that way. So that's kind of cool. And they have them for the ears that go in the ears, and you can heal the middle ear, and it helps hearing problems because most hearing problems are a result of fatigued middle ear issues. So the near infrared light will heal that too.
So that good for some of the ringing in the ears or people that have some of those symptoms
Just,
too.
yep. And then there's for the mouth. In the pons in the brainstem, there's something called it's called the blue spot or the locus ceruleus. And this, you can get to that through the oral cavity. So when you have this device in your mouth, it irradiates that part of the brainstem more easily than any other way. So you can affect the tangling, the neurofibrillary tangles and things that happen in the brain, and the tau proteins that are a part of that. So this is kind of cool device. So there's a lot that you can do. Um, we have an inversion table that I use every morning. And what you do is you invert your body so your feet are up and your head is down. That increases blood flow to the brain, helps drain the lymphatic system and the venous return from the lower extremities. But I can adjust myself, my spine when I'm inverted just by tractioning my spine. It opens up all the vertebrae and allows them to be returned to normal position a lot easier. So that helps the brain because you get more circulation to the brain, and something you can do every day. And
Um, and you mentioned a little bit with when you take the methylene blue and go out in the sun. Can you mention a little bit about the secret times that that the sun can actually give you some extra benefits
well,
and why that's
sunrise
big?
is very important because that turns on circadian biology. That's the 24-hour light dark cycle. And we have neurotransmitters, hormones, and things that are um, influenced, modulated by light, by the color of the
Stimulated.
sun. And the sun changes color through the day. So when you are outside when the sun is rising, you don't have to look right at the sun, but get the color of the rising sun. That turns on hormone production in the body. And that happens till about 10 o'clock until ultraviolet A shows up because the sun's higher now and there's less atmosphere to filter it. So the ultraviolet A comes through and that turns off the hormone production, and your body starts making nitric oxide. And then right in the retina of your eye, we have melanin granules that when the ultraviolet A strikes that, we make melatonin, dopamine, and serotonin right in the eye itself. So if you're out in the morning, you're going to make melatonin so that you can sleep good that night. How many people are outside at 10 in the morning, though? Most
Or
people,
7 in the morning or
well, right,
6:30.
even before that. Most
So
people
you need,
are indoors and
yeah.
under artificial light and exposed to Wi-Fi and stuff like that.
So this
So
is
they
the
don't sleep
secret,
well at night.
right?
And if you don't sleep well, nothing works right in the body. Um, Sleep deprivation was used as a form of torture because it's so impacting on our bodies, on our health. So we need to be outside getting the color of the rising sun that turns on our circadian biology. We shouldn't eat until the sun is up, and we should eat our last meal before the sun goes down. And we used to live with the sun. We used to be up with the sun and went to sleep shortly after the sun set. But now we have artificial lighting, and it's a totally different situation. So we're getting the wrong color of light, the LEDs, the fluorescent, the halogens, and we're getting these microwaves. And when you got your cell phone, you're getting both. You're getting the LEDs that are made with the same color temperature as the sun at high noon. So it tells your body that it's high noon because of the color of that light. So your circadian biology shifts to that of high noon. So you're getting ready to go to bed and you're looking at your device or watching TV or you got LED lights on. You're telling your brain that it's midday. So your circadian biology shifts to that of midday. And then you're going to try to go to sleep. And your brain's going, what do you mean go to sleep? It's midday, right? So
I'll
you
take
can't
my
sleep.
artificial melatonin pills now.
Right. So melatonin that you made in the morning doesn't, it takes 4 hours of darkness before melatonin is released. That's why you don't go right into deep sleep. You got to work your way into it. So if you've been looking at blue light, you got 4 hours of darkness before melatonin is going to be even secreted by the pineal gland. If you got to get up to pee or something during that time and you turn the LED light on or you look at your device, boom, you're right back to midday. So it's going to take another 4 hours of darkness before you get. So people are sleep deprived and they don't realize it. And there's a simple thing they could start to create what we call sleep foreplay earlier in the evening. You turn the lights down, you get your body ready for sleep. We used to look at campfires at night. Um, and
Candles,
that's that's a
dim lighting.
not a harmful color to look at, so you can sleep. And you can get lighting for your house that it's the same color temperature. Um, the incandescent lights that they banned are that color temperature. Or you can get something called a Hooga light, Hooga, Hooga light. Those are made to give you the same color temperature as a campfire. And they took the flicker out of it. So Kerrie reads with one of those every night, and we both have no trouble sleeping.
Mhm.
So there's workarounds, there's hacks that you can do, just like grounding yourself, getting a ground pad, especially for your bed, because we spend a third of our life in bed, and you shouldn't have any night lights on in your room. If you have a night light, it should be red. Um, so protect yourself and protect your sleep because it's so important for your brain, for every function in the body.
So your secret time to get up is around sunrise till around 10. If you can get up and get that light in your eyes. And again, you don't have to go out and stare at it. And the more skin and like if you don't have glasses or contacts on at that time, it's better. Of course, in the winter, you're not going to be out with a lot of skin showing in the winter, but you should still let your eyes recognize those that light color temperature coming out and then spot through the day. If you are inside, try to take light breaks so your body and your mind and your pineal can track that light through the day. Very, very, very important. And that just makes me want to just remind you again, that's really important to set up your home healing sanctuary where you are getting a place that you can heal, your place that you can get lighting that you can get, red or in near infrared light, that you can get grounding, that you can be, hopefully maybe get some kind of frequencies or something. Maybe Bobby, you can talk a little bit about the table and the chairs, or the frequencies, and putting that in, how you can start to get yourself better and back to normal, and giving yourself increased ways of energy that you can heal and protect yourself from some of the things that we have to deal with.
There's one other thing that's easy to do. There's every skeletal muscle in the body is related to an organ system, an acupuncture meridian. So the brain has a muscle called the supraspinatus, and that's located on the top of your scapula, your shoulder blade, comes over the shoulder, attaches to the humerus, abducts the arm, the first 20%. So that's related to the brain. And we find people with those are weak all the time. And it's usually from holding cell phone next to the brain. So to treat that, you come out the lateral borders of the scapula, or I mean the clavicle, the collarbone underneath. And if you rub that, it's probably tender. You can do both sides. You can reach it easier with the opposite hand. And do that for 30 to 60 seconds. And that's going to bring more function to the brain. And it's simple. And then in the back, C2, you rub on either side.
Second
Same way.
cervical.
When people have strokes, they usually get a big egg on one side or the other. And a lot of times they can't talk, they're talking gibberish. And if you work that, resolve it down, they'll start talking normal again. So when you rub these, it helps kind of reset your brain,
You're bringing blood and lymph to the
especially
brain.
especially if you don't have a phone on your body and stuff like that. That's aggravating it.
Yeah.
So all these things are important to normal brain function.
And then I just wanted to mention, and I want to, I'm going to share my screen real quick. The software that comes with our sound table or sound recliner has a lot of frequencies for the brain, for brain function, for enhancing the brain, different ones for running for Alzheimer's or neural enhancement, 40 hertz, which is the frequency to increase memory, learning, and then
And with the headphones, it even works better with the brain because it's right there.
right there, right on
Yeah.
the brain. Yeah. And then also sleep. So there's a lot of frequencies also that help to create a deep sleep pattern, to help create get the body synced back up into wanting to have a more sunrise to sunset kind of a cycle, not be, up till 1 o'clock and then sleeping till 10 if you don't have to. I mean, if you don't have a job that way, it's better to be more synced with the sun. But there's so many other things you can do with the software. But I just wanted to mention that the brain and creating the brain, to make it happy and to create sleep is just phenomenal. The body doesn't, it can sleep, but if it doesn't get deep rest, then it's just, running on one cylinder all day.
So it's important to not get these bad fats in our diet. Friends don't let friends eat margarine,
Yeah.
bad oils, right?
Yeah.
So you got to clean up the diet and get all that stuff out, and your brain will start working better.
That's right. And get in the sun and take your sun breaks and have your herbs and have your rosemary and mint and sage plants, all those, and essential oils. Those are definitely things that you can do through the day, in a diffuser, or, on your hands, or, on your wrists, to get that into your brain. Anything else you can think of, Bobby,
Well,
before we
I
go?
just posted a book that I recently wrote. I don't know if somebody might have seen it. It's Holistic Self-Defense. It's in a story form because people listen to stories more than they listen to just uh, dry facts. So that's in the chat. You're welcome to share that with anybody.
A couple questions here before we go. Any benefit of seeing the sunrise through a picture window? Definitely, but you definitely get, the windows shield a lot of the rays, so you're going to get something. I mean, something's better
So
than nothing, but it'd be
it's
nice if you can get the full spectrum without being filtered by glass.
Yeah, the glazing filters 60% of the infrared and 100% of the ultraviolet. So you're mainly getting blue and green coming through, which is a big part of the problem. So you got to get outside and remove the glasses, contact lenses, because they filter the light also. If you get a lens replacement, that artificial lens is going to block all the ultraviolet, which normally then your normal lens will let through into the retina. So you want to unfilter the eyes, okay? And the more skin you get in the game, because you have more photoreceptors in your skin than you do your eyes.
Right
So
now,
get
maybe tomorrow we can do it.
so you want to expose as much skin without creating scandal as you can.
All right, and then I think there was another one. Any companies you would recommend it for the fermented cod liver oil? Rosita is the one that comes to mind as one of the best, and Green Pastures. But also check on the Weston A. Price Foundation website because they have recommendations and a ton of really good, useful information on the site. Again, we'll probably do that in another podcast where we'll go through some of those sites and let you see that. And
All right.
yeah, next week we're going to talk about another gem, copper, how important that is, the demonized mineral, and a bit more. So I hope you all enjoy.
Yes, it is possible to get too much serotonin. We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Keep the light shining.
Bye for now.